So far, the body, we have covered the world, and we've covered the split mind. We've talked a little bit about the true right mind, but I want to give you now, like I promised, the characteristics of the advanced teacher of God. Now you'll find these in the Course in Miracles, and they're under the term the characteristics of the advanced teacher of God. Okay?
Wow, who thought of that?
Yeah. So I call this here the personality of the advanced teacher of God. Because down here you have your personality that you come into the world with, which is an introvert, an extrovert, an open, a closed. I say to people, find out your personality. Because once you do, it'll make life easier for you. Because your personality lives within a code. Like the introvert will be very happy and content within themselves, whereas the extrovert needs to be out. So when you get in touch with your personality, you'll know more about yourself. So now the personality that's coming here, right, is kind of coming into your higher self. This is where you meet your higher self. When you're down here, you can't meet your higher self. Your higher self is here, you are here. So what the higher self can do, the higher self will mediate this here, which is the true right mind, or up here, which is the Christ mind. Remember we said the higher self was split in two. So it's got a foot, everything down here, and it's got a foot and everything above it. So your personality, when you're here, your personality now, okay, is going to be this. But when you're going out into the world to do things, you're going to be reverting back to the personality you chose to have your physical experience. Yeah? Okay. So everything disappears down here. You could say you detach from everything. You detach from the body, you detach from the world, you detach from the persona, you detach from the shadow. The one thing you don't detach from is the personality. Why?
It's your vehicle.
Yes, you need it because that's how your higher self is going to express itself in this world. Okay, so as long as you're in a body and you're here, you can be connected to here, you can connect it to Christ. Jesus was connected here at this level, but still in a body. So his personality was Christ. Okay?
Which personality changes as you go up, doesn't it?
Of course it does. Of course it does. It becomes more true. The essence of what's true. So remember in the personality, also what we put in here was everything we didn't like about the personality. Everything we did like, we put into the persona. So now everything that's false about the personality, everything that's not true about it, dissolves when you go up here, because you can't take any untruths with you. Yeah? So Roy's 100% right. Takes the intellectual, you see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
God,
right.
yeah.
Thank God for the intellectuals.
Yeah.
So, what I want to discuss now is the 10 characteristics. So one of the biggest characteristics in the first one is trust. Okay, so who do you trust, Roy?
We're making a list of 10 characteristics of what?
The advanced teacher of God. I'll be emailing all of this through to you. Okay?
It's also in the course.
Yes? Yeah. So, trust. Jenny, who do you trust?
Myself,
And who are you?
Jeannie.
And who's Jenny? Is it this little pretend actor that, or actress that you made up? Who is it?
I mean, right now it is.
Ah! Right.
Till I,
Can you trust Jenny? Tell me.
no.
Is she right?
Yes, and
Can you trust Brando?
Yeah, I need to trust Brando, yes.
Do you trust Roy?
yes and no.
Two
Depends on
ribs.
which mind you're coming.
Anybody here? Is everybody the same? Diane, do you trust Diane? Sandy? Jody?
If I'm in my right mind.
If
If I choose.
I'm
my
talking
right.
about Jody in the
Oh,
world.
Jody, the personality in the world, forget it.
Gloria?
No, I can't.
Sorry, what's your name again?
No,
Regina.
Regina.
I don't.
You don't trust. Right. Definitely do not trust yourself.
And I don't trust God either.
Because I'll tell you why. Because when you trust yourself, you're putting yourself into the mind that you're in. The mind doesn't belong to you,
Who or what do you trust then?
especially this mind.
In God we trust.
Well,
But-
okay, do you know God?
I was making a
No,
joke.
no, but that's an answer that a lot of people give, so it's...
No, yeah, I don't trust God.
Why?
Because he.
See, I don't want to just give you answers
Mhm.
saying yes, no, I want to tell you why. So I want to hear what you say first.
Because God allows all these horrible things to happen on this, to other people and to me. So why can I? How can I trust?
If you're
him?
100% right, I wouldn't trust a bastard the other night. You know? Allowing all those things to happen to me, you know.
Everybody's a victim, right?
Mm-hmm. So, the reason why you don't trust God, you can only trust what you know. So anybody who puts their hands up and say, I trust God, unless you know God, and I'm not talking about the idea that you have of God. I'm not talking about the concept that you have of God. I'm talking about a direct experience of God. Without that experience, you're only intellectualizing your knowing. It's coming out of a book that you think might be true. But remember, the thinker is still the ego. So who do we trust? Go back to Roy.
Actually, I trust the ego to always try to lead me astray, and always come up with new and novel ways to torment me. I totally trust the ego.
And that's very clear because that's what's happening.
And I know that for a fact.
Yes.
You know that's
And I know it for
I
a fact.
trust my ego more to do that than God.
Yeah. Well, to tell you the truth here, what you're really talking about, Regina, is the God that you're talking about is the ego God. Remember what we talked about this morning? All right? Spirit doesn't see the error. God doesn't judge the error. God doesn't allow anything to happen. That's not true. We are free to dream all the horrible things we want. That doesn't mean that it's really anything to do with God. Okay, so the ego God, the ego of the Bible, is the God that stands back and basically watches for all the guilty people, for every thought that you have that's not pure. And he's going to send you to hell. That much is guaranteed.
He's going to smite you.
Yes. So,
And get even with you.
so trust. Come back to trust. Diane, who do you trust?
no one.
Mm-hmm. Sandy?
No. Nobody.
Jody?
You're again talking about the you that's here named Jody.
Yeah.
Nobody.
You see, what Jesus says in the Course is this. It's very clear that you trust the ego because of how you feel. And we have always put our trust in the ego. Every time you seek outside yourself for anything, you're putting your trust into the ego. Okay, so if we have lack, if we don't have abundance, all right, what do? We go out into the world and we look for it. If we don't have love in our lives, we look for love in the world. If we don't have happiness in our lives, we look for happiness in the world. Every single time you're putting your trust into the ego. When you put your trust into the ego, there's only one guaranteed outcome. Death.
What if you put your trust in unqualified love?
Do you know it?
No, not yet.
Yes. So that's exactly the answer I'm looking for.
But Donald Trump has put
Yeah.
his trust in the ego
Yeah,
and
we
it's
just-
working. for
Yeah,
him,
well,
so-
we don't talk basically, you know, we always have to come from our own perspective first.
Okay.
When you get into other people's perspectives, all you're really saying is, I don't want to look at my perspective. So it's easy to jump into Donald Trump or Hitler or whatever and, you know, see the world through their eyes. We justify it. So what this is really about is we have to put ourselves, we have to now remove our trust from the ego and put our trust into detachment, forgiveness, Because forgiveness and detachment, which is the same thing, right, is going to bring you to the knowing of your true self. And in the knowing of your true self is the knowing of God. You can't know God without knowing your true self. You can't know your true self as long as you stay attached to your separated self. If you keep putting your trust into the separated self, then you're denying your true self. You're cheating on your higher self. Because you're saying, I would rather look, I want stuff of the ego, I want stuff of the separated self, I want stuff of the world. So you can see cause and effect working on all of these. Did everybody get what I just said?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
you said 9 times.
What this means is we must withdraw our trust in the ego. In other words, you must stop thinking that you know what's best for you. As long as you continue doing that, that's the ego. Okay? So your trust must come into a tool now that's going to work for you. And the more you use this tool, the more trust you're going to put into it. And in the course that we're asked to trust is forgiveness.
Please define forgiveness.
Forgiveness is
Yeah.
detachment.
Okay.
Simple as that. What you're doing is you have this thought you're unconscious of, you've denied it, you suppressed it, projected it outside, you've reacted to it, now you're aware of the thought. It's inside in your mind, unconscious. Now you want to detach from it.
How do you do that?
You simply take full responsibility for it and say, what I seen in you is not in you, I reacted to it, so it's a thought in my unconscious mind. That is the same process as forgiveness. It's called detachment. Okay?
Ego wrong mind, ego right mind. It seems to me that ego right mind is even more
Yeah.
insidious than ego
Is it?
wrong mind.
That's what it is.
Is that correct?
Of course. And he says that throughout the course. Because here's the special love, special hid. And he says the special love is more heaviness. And I forget that, it doesn't use a very nice word for it. I forget the word that he uses for it, like, but it is because it covers up the guilt and gives the illusion of love. Okay?
Right.
Yeah. So,
It's like putting a pretty
course.
face on it.
and like I say to people, right, the personas are actually harder to actually deal with than the shadow.
Could we say it's like the shine on the apple?
Yeah.
Ooh, that apple looks really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So let's move to the second characteristic, honesty.
First one was trust.
Trust.
Yes.
So we're removing our trust from the ego and we're putting our trust into a device. We can't put it into God unless you know God. You can't put it into your higher self unless you know your higher self. So you must put it into something that's going to get you to one of those 2 points. And what's going to get you there is a tool that's going to detach you from the false sense of yourself. Makes sense? So the next characteristic is honesty. Okay, is there an honest person in the room? I'm going to get a cup of coffee and I want to see how you think that long.
We don't have to think that long, Michael. Can you come back?
You want an honest answer?
Oh, he's gonna use a 4-letter word.
Right. Who's honest? What does honesty mean? What does honesty mean in this world?
I think, in this world or in what we're trying to learn?
Tell the truth, though. Be truthful.
I used this when I was in the shop one day back at home, and there was a shop when I lived in Ireland, and I used to go around to it. And I used to have, there was a woman in it, like she was a lovely woman, like, you know, but we used to have a bit of crack, and not crack that you in Ireland crack's fun.
Different
All right.
Definition.
So, but basically this day we were talking, we were having a bit of fun, but I gave her 50 euros and got whatever I got, came to about, must be about 25, but she gave me back 40. And I said to her, no, you give me too much. But I knew I had distracted her because we were talking and everything like that, you know. And then she says, you're a really honest person. Was she right?
How
In
about
that
that?
moment,
yeah. I
How
mean,
about that exchange?
in the
In that
world.
context, yes. In that
In
context.
that line.
Because you see,
Because it
that's
was
the
ego
problem
right.
in relationships and everything in this world. Honesty must align two things: your thoughts with your actions. Okay, if I had looked at that maybe and I walked out the door and go, why did I do that? Do you know what I mean? Why didn't I just keep it light, you know? And you know who was telling you those thoughts. But honestly, what you think must align perfectly with what you do.
That's called integrity.
But you had the thought after.
Huh?
You had,
Thought of what?
you said, why did I do that?
No, I'm saying I could have walked out the door and had another thought of why did I do that? You know, why didn't I just keep the money or whatever, and probably justified it by saying, well, some other shop ripped me off, so this is the universe giving it back to me. You know what I mean? Like,
So
you
what,
get,
what was your thought? For me to answer that, what would be your thought? What was your thought at that time?
at that time, I didn't have a thought. I just give it back because I knew instantly that she'd give me the wrong change. So I didn't think about it.
But you knew. You just said you knew instantly. Isn't that a thought?
Yeah, I knew, by looking at the change, I knew instantly that that wasn't correct.
So
And
your thought is that it was not correct.
it was not correct.
And your action seemed to correlate with that thought.
Yes.
Because you responded in a natural.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you say you were honest?
Yeah, because the simple, it happened to me before I woke up. And I put it in my pocket.
You did put it in your pocket?
Yeah. I'm talking about before.
You would
Many,
have.
many years ago.
Would
You
have.
would've.
Would have.
Oh.
The
Would
key
have.
is
you
would
would
have.
have.
Yeah.
So your honesty, so you were trying to cover up your before action by trying to be honest now, and that was
Not
okay.
cover up,
No.
make up, make
Yeah.
up.
So listen, here's what we want to get to. Honesty is never what you do, it's what you think.
Huh.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
So here are the truly honest. The truly honest become attached to nothing that they seek for in this world while they're in the world.
Repeat it, I didn't get it all.
The truly honest are attached to nothing external in this world. Okay? It's dishonest when you seek outside yourself and you're attached to what you seek for.
That's a strange definition. That's not typical honesty definition.
Because your honesty is what you're now thinking. If I seek outside myself, right, Roy? Okay? And I'm not honest in my thinking, right? That means I'm in judgment. Now I'm going to see everything as good and bad and everything is right and wrong. That's not being honest. That's the ego's definition of honesty. Okay? Because what I'm seeking for in the world, I'm invested in the outcome. But when I'm truly honest, I'm coming out, I'm doing something in the world. Okay? And everything that we do in the world at the end of the day must be love. Is that true? So therefore, it must be unconditional. Yeah? And if it's unconditional, we can't be invested to the outcome. So the truly honest are doing things in the world, but they're never invested on the outcome of what they do.
I mean, what you're saying is, very, very sensible and idealistic, but the way you're using the words honesty and some of these words, you're retranslating them completely. It's
Exactly.
kind of
And
hard to
that's what
follow.
that's exactly what the Course in Miracles has done.
It's
Because
retranslating
there's more to come here.
Oh, God.
You see, because what we have to do,
Start
Roy,
praying now.
remember what I said this morning. Everything has to be reinterpreted.
We need a dictionary that gives these new definitions.
Yeah. Well, we have. You're standing here.
I mean, a printed one you can
There
study.
is one.
that.
There is
of course.
one.
There is
There
one.
is?
There is.
Yes.
So basically, what Jesus is doing here now, in all of these, right, is it's kind of like the Ten Commandments that God didn't give to Moses. That they've been all reinterpreted, right? So we have basically commandments in our own life, like trust and knowledge, honesty and tolerance, and all of these kind of things. But they're all the definition and meaning of them has been given to them by the ego. So the ego is, as long as you're doing honest things, everybody's going to think you're honest. And then enters the politician. And the politician proved that that's a crock of shit. Because the politicians said they were going to do everything and then did the opposite. So they said, trust me. And then behind the scenes, they do the complete opposite. So that's what the ego's definition of trust is. But trust in spirit, trust in the higher mind is about what you think. Because if you're thinking correctly, everything you perceive will be correctly, and everything you do will be correctly, and everything you say will be correctly. If you're not thinking correctly, you're thinking wrongly. That means everything you do will be right or wrong, everything you say will be right or wrong, and be contested by everybody, and everything that you think will be. So you can see, we have to get to the base, to the mind, align with the mind, and now everything else aligns automatically. If you don't, that means you're living by the ego standards, and that means you have to, and that's what the persona shadow is all about. It's about moral ethics in the world. It's about social standing and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. So it's all got to do with form, it's got to do with effects. But inside, you know, there's nobody basically thinking along with their actions. So to be in the right mind means that you align yourself with the right thoughts, and everything else will come from that. Brando.
Okay, just on honesty here, defined as seeking nothing in the world, is there a way you can put it in a proactive definition?
Well, I just did that straight away after it. It's where you seek things now for in the world where you not become attached to the outcome. So it's like me. All right, for the last 7 years I've been standing in front of beautiful people like you. All right, teaching. And my task only was never to become invested whether you did the work or not. Whether you listened to me or not. Whether you believed me or not. If I was to get upset that any one of you didn't do what I say or didn't believe me or anything else, I'm teaching from the ego. I'm not being honest. So what keeps me honest is I remove myself from the outcome. I give unconditionally. So in my psychotherapy, it means when people come to me, they come to me with a problem. I never tell them what to do. I just give them two options. And I say, if you choose this option, this is what's going to happen. You choose this option, that's what's going to happen. And now the person goes away. It's up to them whether they choose. Because Jesus says in the Course, if you're not free to choose wrongly, you'll never be free to choose correctly. So that means say in your own friendships, in your own family, if you see someone making the wrong choice consistently, don't interfere with it. Don't think, I'm going to save that person hassle, time and hassle. I'm going to show them. What have you just done?
You've taken their
You're-
opportunities
you're
away, or
Yes.
Disempowered them.
just, yeah.
No matter
What-
what age they are?
Well, I'm talking about, with children, I would allow them to make little mistakes, graduate them, but don't solve every problem for them. Children need problems to solve, because we do this with people also, because you're disempowering the person. Let's say you had to make a wrong choice in something 100 times, all right? For you to learn that you're making the wrong choice. And then you're there, say, 50 times now you've hurt yourself. You put the moth, you put the hand in the fire 50 times. But you have another 50 to go, and someone steps in and tells you what you're doing. You go, oh, great, thanks. That means you have to go and learn that lesson all over again. You have to start from scratch again. Because it'll manifest again, because you see the person disempowered you.
Or something else will manifest again, not that same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Just totally.
Something in the same thought will usually manifest, but in different form. So that person has to again now go through all the mistakes to learn from themselves. The only way that we learn is we have the experience, this is bad for me, this is not good for me. But when you do that for another person, when you say, no, that's going to be bad for you, they have to learn that for themselves. Because they'll stay away from it from a good while. But just to think when you were a child, everybody told you what not to do, that's the first thing you went and done. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Well, maybe
True.
you did that, Mike,
Yeah.
but not every
You
child
did.
does.
Stop
You want to
denying
do
it,
that.
Judy. We all did it. Okay, we all did it. Because we had to learn for ourselves that this was. We all had to learn
But
for
she's real
ourselves.
bad now. Whoa.
So that's what this is really about, is right? We'll make the wrong choices. We'll be dishonest for many, many times before we learn that it's hurting us. Okay, so honesty comes from what we think, never from what we do. The next one is tolerance. Roy's going to love this one. So, Roy, if I said to you now, what does tolerance mean to you?
It's allowing people to be who are what they are, including their bad behavior.
Yeah. You're putting up with people.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody like to comment on that? Do
No.
you put up with people?
No.
Have you a high tolerance or low tolerance?
Yeah,
You put up with people, Rhonda?
I want to make a
Getting
comment
higher.
on tolerance, because I had a major lesson in life on this term. And it implies you're making judgment the way we use it now. I mean, in the way I used it. I know I was with some friends and they said, well, we know you have a religious belief. And they said, well, what about these other beliefs that are not believing what you do? And they said, what would you do to those people? How would you feel towards them? And I said, well, I would tolerate it. So that implied that I was correct, and I was just putting up with somebody
Yeah.
who was off base.
you
So
were
how do you mean
judging
it? Because, see, that implies judgment to me,
Right.
the term
Of
I
course.
used. Yeah,
Right.
Of
okay.
course.
Right.
So, who do you think gets intolerant with people? Is it God?
Ego.
No.
The ego.
Ego.
Okay, so that's the definition now. That's the world's definition. You're tolerant, you put up with people. The ego says there's some people you just have to put up with. And you better learn how to put up with these people. So how do we learn that? We turn to the passive aggressive mechanism, suppression, and we bury that rage inside us that we could strangle this person. So we tolerate, we put up with it. But the tolerance now in the Course is something completely different. So what do you think the tolerance in the Course is? You must have done this, Julie.
Non-judgment.
Huh?
Non-judgment.
Yeah.
Which means?
Letting everyone and anyone be whatever it is they need to be and have
So
no
it's
judgment
acceptance.
about it. I guess you could call it that.
All right.
Wouldn't it be like I forgive them for they know not what they do? In other words, you reinterpret what they're doing as a call for love or
How about
Or your call
forgive
for
them for what they're not doing? Because it's us,
Tolerance in the Course means,
if we see it.
right, that when you're putting up with someone, all right, you be tolerant. But why are you putting up with the person in the first place? Why do you need to be tolerant?
So you don't have to be alone.
It's about
That's a
self.
brilliant answer, and it's the truth. That's the truth.
Yeah, right.
Because we want something from the person.
Or you want to avoid conflict.
You still want something from them. You're still seeking your security outside yourself. By saying, I need to take action here because I believe that this person's going to attack me or this person, so I need to withdraw.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're still putting your trust in the ego.
Mm-hmm.
That person most likely now will attack you. Let's say for a moment, if you turn around and you said, right, I want nothing from this person. I'm going to put my trust in the tools and the mechanisms that I have. What happens?
Well, if it's a person at work, a work colleague, then the job is not going to get done.
Give me an example.
Let's say you're working on a project with someone, and if they don't get their part of the job done, and the task is not done in time, and there's a problem.
Right. And can you take responsibility for that?
No,
Why?
because they didn't do their part.
No, but you see, ultimately in this, you're responsible for everything.
Yeah, I don't have my head wrapped around that too well yet.
Yeah. Because you see, down here, and this is a good point, Laura, this is very important. Down here, you're only responsible for your half.
Not the wrong mind, huh?
It doesn't matter, you know what I mean? Like, just say you're going to do anything, this is the way we do it. We always put responsibility, two people in a relationship, all right? Each person now has shared responsibility. Can you have shared responsibility in a relationship and make it work?
No, both have to be responsible.
Both have to be
Yeah.
100%
One.
responsible for themselves.
Otherwise, it's an oxymoron, the
If-
question.
Yeah, because if you're going to do anything in this world, what we do is, this is mine, this is yours. I'll do my share, this is all I'm responsible for. But if you're taking on a project and this person is in that project with you, then you must take full responsibility for that project. So what that means now, you become the teacher for the student who's with you. If they're not pulling their weight, what happens? What's your action? What are you supposed to do in a situation like that?
Well, you try to communicate, and if it doesn't work, you just try to tolerate them, I guess.
No! You don't try to communicate, you communicate. When you try to do anything, you're never going to succeed because you're sending out the energy, I'm going to try this, which means I have no intention of succeeding. You, when you take responsibility for this other person, okay, you now are a guiding light for that person. If that person hasn't the capabilities, or hasn't the technical approach, or whereas, you lift that person up. You take that share of the burden from that person. Because that's what we're all here learning in this world. You see, you have very, very rich people in this world, and you have very, very poor people. And until this world learns, right, that the interests of everybody is one, and it's in the interest of the rich to help the poor, okay? So if you're in a position and you are coming from a position of strength in a relationship, it's not to see the other person as weaker, as, you know, someone as a burden or someone you had tolerated. You lift that person up, and when you lift that person up, you lift yourself up. You cannot lift yourself up by yourself. That's the ego. So when the ego in a partnership, and I'm only looking from the ego in this point of view, the ego in a partnership, two people go in to share a job to do so. Well, basically one person will try to have it perfect at the expense of the other person to show how good they are, or that they're better than the other person, that they're more spiritual, that they're more enlightened, that they're more this.
Can't they just want to do a good job to get the job done?
But you see, the good job is the whole. It's not the half.
But how do you take responsibility for the other person?
You take responsibility for the job. The whole job
Right.
is your responsibility. Okay? And that means if you're able to do the job and the other person's not able to do the job, you must find a way of helping the other person. That
Team.
we're all helping ourselves whole. Remember the three types of people in the world. Those who are awake, those who are waking up, and those asleep. Everybody's helping everybody.
But what about what you said before, like if you take on the whole job yourself, then they're not learning.
No. But what you're doing is you're taking on the responsibility for the whole job. And you're taking on the responsibility now of the person that's in this complete task with you, to help them, to be a better person. So you're helping that person to empower themselves. How does that sound, Roy?
Well, when it's possible, it's a good idea.
Hey, listen, there's nothing impossible. You can make anything happen if you want. So from now on, if you went in with a mindset, you know, okay, this person, okay, they're a little bit, you know, they're a bit of trouble doing this, a bit of trouble doing that. I'm going to take the slack on this. You know, I'm going to give my brother a leg up on this. I'm going to help this person. Without going over and saying, you know, and making that person feel bad because they can't do it, or making it obvious where you want, you know what I mean? You have to look for the ego in this. For
You
your
don't want to
motives.
make them feel bad.
Exactly.
It's the attitude you
Yeah,
come-
exactly. You know, if you have the attitude, I want to be of service to this person, I want to help this person to be to empower this person in their own way. Okay? So, we're getting off track. Tolerance. Okay? It's a completely different reinterpretation of the world. Tolerance here is basically now where you can't. Put it this way, it's impossible for you to argue with someone if you're not looking for something from them.
That's good.
It's only when you're seeking for something from someone that you need to tolerate them. Okay? So it's impossible to argue with anybody, right? Unless you're looking for something from them. And I think I told this story before about the lady on a Friday afternoon or a Monday afternoon. She rang me up and she said, I had the worst fighting with my partner all weekend. And she started going to the story and the drama, and I went, stop. I says, what did you want from him? She went, what? I said, what were you seeking from him? She said, I wasn't seeking anything. And I said, listen, you know, I want you to go back and I want you to go to the end of the story and take a think about it, take a couple of hours, ring me back. She rang me back an hour or two later and she says, respect. She was seeking for respect. And I said, why did you do that? You don't need his respect. Okay, it's the same as trust. You don't need to trust anybody. I don't trust anybody. But it's not that I don't trust anybody. I don't need to trust anybody. Because the only thing I trust is God. Simple as that. So respect is the same. You don't need anybody else's. If you need somebody else's respect, then you need to begin to respect yourself. Because you don't. So we deny our own self-respect, project it out, and then we see people not respecting us, and we attack them for it.
Right, if we totally respect ourselves, why do we care if somebody else respects us? It
You don't
make-
need it.
doesn't make sense.
You know. Because you're living in duality, and half this world's going to respect you, and the other half's going to disrespect you. Half this world's going to like you, half this world's going to dislike you. That's duality.
Couldn't we say
3 hands went up at the one time. Brandon, we'll start with you at the back.
Okay, well, no, I was just thinking Roy's example, because this is so common in the workplace. And maybe you're the senior person responsible for the job, literally assigned, and you have people working for you, whatever. I think it could be possible to even make demands if you do it with the right attitude. In other words, maybe a person's been a little bit lax on their work, and you go into them and say, look,
Yeah.
you have to do this and do your part of the job, or you're going to get fired, or we're not going to be able to pay you, or we're going to lose the whole thing.
Yep.
And do it, but do it not in the sense that you are angry at them, or that you're trying to expect something special out of them, like you said, respect or something, but you're just simply saying, we're together in this. Here, it's this way or that way. Kind of like when you do your consulting.
So, what I'm saying here is, if you have the mind set right at the beginning,
Right.
that basically this person's not a bad person, they're not stupid, whatever, they just might have a little unawareness in parts of their life. So you're coming from this perspective, what's good for this person is good for me.
Right.
I can help this person. Then after that, the form, the words that you say to this person, the actions that you decide to do with this person is irrelevant. It'll be the right thing. Because now you're coming from a place of love. You're coming from what's good for you is good for me. What's good for me is good for you. Okay? So you whatever.
You're just talking about higher intention.
Of course. Which is love. You know, the ego is always in a situation like that. One person will try to outdo the other person to get the credit. You know, so I'm up, the other person's down. In this world, the ego says, for you to be up, you have to put somebody down. So you look at celebrities and footballers and everything else, they all want to be the best. You look at how they do that. They're always criticizing or giving out about everybody else. You know, they're always finding fault in someone else to say, I'm better than them because look, you know. So we all have a big list of reasons why we're better than everybody else. So that's the ego's perception on this. Okay? Love and God's perception is help your brother. You help yourself. because your brother is yourself. So if you have someone there, that person is you having a different experience that's not you. So how would you like, if you were having a little bit of trouble in this world, and we all have it, for somebody to come along and say, here, I can help you? Because it's happened. So do you keep that for yourself, or do you share and extend that on to other people?
Pay it forward. That was it. Pay
You
it
know?
forward.
Huh?
Play it forward.
Yeah. So you know, we have all golden opportunities to do all of these. It's a mindset. So the next one then is basically gentleness.
What is the definition of tolerance? I didn't,
Tolerance.
yeah, what is the definition after all that?
In this world, it was about putting up with people. To be tolerant really is now, you're not seeking, it's non-judgment.
No.
Okay? It's you're not seeking anything from the world that you're not attached to, and you're not seeking from anything from another person. Okay? If you're putting up with someone, you're always seeking something from them. Go ahead.
I wanted to say, I think there's a flip definition in this world for tolerance. You can say that, and your definition is fine if you're taking the attitude of kind of putting up with. But you can also use tolerance in, I have a great tolerance for world religions. I find them way more alike than different, or something like that, you know, something like, and I'm interested in learning and think it's fascinating
Yeah.
that what other people believe.
So you have tolerance here in the good room,
Okay,
and you have tolerance in the bad room.
okay, but
They're
are we
both-
just
They're both the
talking,
same.
so
One's
learning
a- what-
about how other people think and
Huh?
other cultures work, is it, and other cultures believe or
It's
think
all, say if you were here in the world now, right, you weren't doing spirituality, you weren't here to wake up or anything else,
Mhm.
yes. You're moving from that intolerance into a more tolerant society. Do you understand?
Okay, yes,
But in itself, it's still not true.
so it's equally as bad?
Because all you're doing is like this world, you could see as a burning house.
As what?
What?
House
A
that's
burning
burning
house.
down.
Oh, burning house.
So what you're really doing is, what everybody's doing in this room is they're rearranging the furniture, but the house is still burning down.
Okay, I mean, I hear the metaphor,
Yeah.
I just think, I don't find any judgment in
Yeah.
saying, I love learning about other cultures and religions and whatever, I
Yeah.
think it's interesting,
Yeah, but you
so,
see, what you're learning is you're learning individual parts and fragments.
differences,
You know what I mean?
okay.
So that's
okay.
okay if you were here not to wake up, but you're here to wake up. It means now transcending that and giving everything a reinterpretation and everything a new meaning.
And see the sameness
Yeah.
rather than the difference.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
okay,
So you're
got it.
tolerant here. You see,
So that
these
was
two
my
rooms-
question, cause on face value, it seemed
Yeah.
okay.
But all you're doing is every thought, basically of
Yeah,
guilt. Okay, you can have a bad guilty thought, or you can have a good guilty thought. And a good guilty thought would be, oh, I ate the chocolate. I'm feeling guilty about it. Or a bad guilty thought would be, oh, I just killed that person. Oops.
Right, there's chocolate.
I hope nobody finds out.
Right, let's move on because we have a lot of work to do, right? We have another
Thank
couple
you.
to go.
That's-
Gentleness is the next one. So how do you be gentle? In this world, gentleness means that you tip around people, isn't it? And you say nice things, and you do nice things. So what's the gentle? To be gentle is what?
Come from love.
Non-violent.
How about to meet people where they're at? Like, you're not gonna tell somebody who's in pain, the world is an illusion or something like that. So you talk to them at a level that, you know, that they can communicate, that they can hear you.
Well, when you're reading in the course about gentleness, what it really means is the decision not to attack. Okay, if you want to be truly gentle with the people around you, then stop attacking them. The way we attack them is this. We have a thought of guilt, we deny it, we suppress it, we project it out onto them, alright? And now we say it's theirs. That's an attack.
Oh, that's a mental attack.
It's the only attack there is.
Mm.
It's a mind attack. It's a mind fuck, you could call it, right? So that's not being gentle. Now that person could go around and, oh, would you like a seat? Would you like a seat? No, I'd like a seat. None of this. And at the same time, this person's thinking, these fuckers in here, would they not go home? You know, I'm tired, my back's sore. Maybe you're working in a restaurant, you know. So that person looks to be gentle, but inside, there's no gentleness. There's a full-blown attack going on here. We have all done this ourselves, even at little thing. You know, we could be standing in line, you know, going to the bank, and the next thing there's a big queue in the bank, like, you know, and someone's sticking out with their ass and won't let you pass, and then someone jumps in front of you, and then you allow that person to jump in front of you. Sounds familiar, Brando? So this, it looks on the surface that you're being gentle. Persona, ego, right mind, that's what's going on. But underneath here, in this mind, it's all full-blown attack.
That's when you slam the door.
Yes,
So when you change your thoughts, your actions change alone.
yes. So basically what it is again, it's your decision not to attack, which means now that you take full responsibility for everything you react to, which means you're taking that responsibility for everything you project, which means you're taking responsibility for everything you've denied in your own unconscious mind. That's you being gentle. Okay? The next one is joy. Happiness. So the joy in this world, right? We always get joy from one thing and one thing only. What?
Pure love.
No.
No?
We get joy from getting things exactly the way we want them.
Oh, you mean in this world, yeah.
Yeah. So, the way it works is this. Let's use it in love. I will love you, provided you love me and meet all my needs. When you cease or fail to meet my needs, I'm going to fucking hate you. And that's the way all relationships are. Okay? Every relationship that's under the split mind has that identical setup and makeup. And if you're saying, I'm not like that, you're still in a state of denial. Okay? Any questions on that?
No, we're laughing.
Okay, so joy comes from getting exactly what you want. So again, there's the world and there's the body, and we have relationships with both. So we'll be really happy with our bodies, provided we're the right weight, and everything else looks not so bad, and blah, blah, blah. We'll be happy with the world, okay? If we won the lottery and we go through green lights and don't meet any red lights, you know, if the car doesn't break down, all of these things. All our happiness depends on that. We'll be happy with our relationships. We'll be happy when I go into work and my boss is off sick. You know? So it's always about getting what we want. That's where all our happiness comes from. It's a setup, because as long as you do that, you're going to be unhappy when you don't get things the way you want. That's the real setup here. And the ego loves it. So joy in the Course means being happy for absolutely no reason. If you can tell yourself why you're happy, you're going to lose yourself, you're going to lose that happiness. So if you're walking in, maybe you walk into work and, you know, you're glowing. And someone says to you, you probably never thought of it. Maybe you're in the right mind. Okay? Maybe you've been in there for a couple of hours and just feel good about yourself. And then someone says to you, oh God, you're looking great, what's happening? Oh, I just went out for a walk last night. All of a sudden, you go from straight there, straight to there. Why?
Because you attributed it to something specific.
And
Well, you-
outside, something outside.
External?
yourself. Yeah.
So you're saying, I'm attached to this external. Regina first.
Yes.
Okay, I get tremendous pleasure and joy from walking in nature,
Why is that?
because I feel connected and I love Gaia very much.
Mm-hmm.
And Gaia to me is God,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel close to God.
Yeah.
So I was staying with a rabbi in Mount Shasta,
Mm-hmm.
where there is exquisite nature,
Mm-hmm.
and I came back very euphoric,
Mm-hmm.
and he became agitated with me and
Mhm.
said, I am committing idolatry.
Yeah.
So I got very annoyed with him, and in my mind I thought, I'm never going to stay with him again, and I'm severing all ties with this rabbi. And how dare he tell me that my love for nature is idolatrous. And then I thought about it, and in a way he's kind of right, because I ought to feel that same sense of connection in the middle of Manhattan or in some horrible place as I do in nature.
And
Really.
why?
Huh?
Why don't you?
Why? Because to me, nature is very conducive. It's easy to love nature because nature's so beautiful.
Yeah, but why do you love it?
Because it's so
No.
aesthetically beautiful
No.
and peaceful.
No. No.
Why? Because I feel good when I'm there? I don't know.
You do feel good there. Everybody does, but why?
Not as much as I do. I mean,
All right,
different
okay,
ages,
okay,
yeah.
you're special.
I'm special. Huh? Okay, because it's peaceful and it's easy to connect
You're
to.
talking about effects. I want the content, the cause.
Why do I feel good there? Is what you want to know?
Yes,
Because nobody's messing with me, nobody's bothering
that's
me.
effects. It's effects.
Outside.
Okay.
They're all effects.
It's easy for me to be at one. In nature.
Effects.
Okay, I don't know. You tell me why.
What? Anybody?
Non-judgment.
Nature
Well, she's
is
made
nature is without judgment.
It does not judge me.
But
No, you do not judge it.
you don't judge
When
it,
you're in the
right?
middle of Manhattan, you judge in every single thing that you seek your hands on. Nature and everything outside you is without judgment. All animals, all plant life, everything here apart from us is without judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So when you're out in nature, you're basically now have become one with nature. You're seeking nothing from nature. You are out there in nature enjoying it.
Well, I am seeking something from nature a lot, and I get it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you had to listen to what I said.
Yeah.
Okay. You are seeking. But the seeking, right, is not now to do with your projections. You're not seeking to see the flower, guilty are you? Okay? Are you looking to see this flower, right, more innocent than this flower? Are you looking to see what's wrong with that flower? But when you're in Manhattan, what are you doing?
And noticing the noise.
The irritations, the annoyance, so what you're looking at now, you're a victim. And all these things now, all these people, the cars, the cities, the people and everybody in it, you are judging.
Projecting.
You are projecting all your judgments out. We don't do this with nature.
So,
And you are right. God is nature because God is everything. And you are in that everything.
but God is Manhattan also.
Of course.
Right.
So was the rabbi right that I was committing idolatry? Because he said that I am worshiping nature, and that I need to worship only God, and I can worship God anywhere.
Well, the both of you were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because what you were doing is you were still seeking outside yourself, so he was correct. But he wasn't correct for the reason why he thought he was correct, because nature is God. Nature is everything. Manhattan is God.
Mm-hmm.
But what you were doing is you were trusting the ego. You were seeking outside yourself. And that is why it was idolatry. Okay?
Well, I'm going to expound on this whole idea, and please don't take this personally, because if you watch the Nature Channel or National Geographic or Discovery Channel, any of those things, and I've heard Ken Wapnick talk about this in lectures, nature is incredibly violent. Incredibly, whether it's the nature inside your body of bacterium, eating bacterium and viruses attacking organs, the praying mantis, you know about the mating and the praying mantis, bite the head off and kill it.
Same with black widows.
Same with black
women
widow.
again.
So if you take a microscope or a telescope, there is violence everywhere
Yeah.
in nature. Turn on the news and the Weather Channel. So it's all what we make up.
Mhm.
And yes, my hobby is gardening. I love being out in nature, but it just is a thing that I've made up that's where I get pleasure. My husband loves golfing. I think it's the most boring game in the world. But so it's all what we make up, I
Yeah.
think.
Right.
And it's all the same. What I'm confused about is your God is everywhere. I thought God wasn't here.
So who told you that?
Oh, Dave?
The course.
So what about, did you do the workbook lessons? God is in
Yeah.
that table. God
Yeah.
is in that chair. God is in that door. God is in the street.
Oh, I
Have you
thought it
done all
was
that?
a table is not a table, a chair is not a chair. It
So
doesn't
what is it?
exist.
So what are you leaning
It's
on?
another illusion.
What are you leaning on?
It's another
Do you
illusion.
see what everybody's doing here, Judy? Everybody in the course is falling into the same error. They're in denial. All right, God is awareness.
The awareness?
No,
Or
God
the awareness
is-
thing? Is it a verb or a noun?
God is awareness. Awareness is everything. God is actually pure awareness. Okay?
Okay.
God has only been given the name God because of paganism. Because they had gods, idolatry gods, the sun was a god, the moon was a god, the stars were a god, everything was gods. But an ultimate like this, if you want, when you go through the levels, when you reach this state, you'll know God is one thing and one thing only, awareness. And every person that you meet, you will see God in that person. And every face you greet. And whatever you say to that person, you say to God. Whatever you do to that person, you do to God. And whatever you think of that person, you think of God.
Okay.
So I know Ken Wapnick, and I didn't disagree with a lot what Ken said,
Mhm.
but I do disagree with this one that he said. And Ken said in one of the videos, he says that, don't tell God how much you loved him. If you loved him, you wouldn't be here.
Oh.
So what is that statement really saying? It is reinforcing separation,
And
isn't
guilt.
it?
And
I'm guilt and fear. So I couldn't believe it when Ken came out with that one. Because all it's saying is you are separate from God. The whole course is telling us we're not separate from God.
Okay.
So for someone to come out and say, don't tell God how much you love him. If you loved him, you wouldn't be here. Beware. We haven't left anywhere. We're in a dream.
Right.
Okay.
I just think God isn't here.
Yeah, so
wanting
God
to
is
take
aware.
that. I
You
mean,
see, the way this
you know,
works,
hand them to me.
you see, the way this
In
works
the
is,
physical world.
the first presence of God in this world was Abraham. The next one was Buddha, and the next one was Christ. A, B, C. In heaven, the boss is awareness. Yeah? A.
Yeah.
Right? What's B in heaven?
Awareness.
No. Us.
Being.
We're in the state of being. And what does the Course say that comes after us?
Christ
Creations.
creation.
A, B, C. Jesus says everything is a continuous line of extension. And everything begins with A. Okay, and they're all just symbols of extension. Listen, we're nearly coming up to 3:30. We have only done this one.
Okay, wait,
We're in the middle of this one, and we have 4 more to go in the next half hour.
One quick thing.
No, go ahead, I can,
Quick.
I answered my own question
The
anyway.
Course says that God is not even aware of the dream.
Okay. Are you happy with that?
No, I don't believe it.
All right. What do you believe?
I think if God is awareness, God is aware of everything.
So why does that not make sense?
Why does what not make sense?
Why does the Course say that? The Course does say that.
I know it does.
But what the Course is saying is God is aware that we're dreaming, but he is not aware of the content of our dreams.
Right, but he is aware that we are dreaming.
Of course.
Yeah,
I
okay.
mean, it's God.
And if he's everywhere, he's
Thank you.
everywhere.
You know, right at the very beginning of the lessons, Jesus is telling us, God is all around you. You're not separate.
Right.
And then all of a sudden people get into the idea and someone comes out and says, oh, God doesn't know we're here. That is the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard anybody. I am in the presence of God every single day in my own heart. I carry God with me every day. So you tell me now that I'm not with God? Or anybody's not with God? Or when Jesus was here, where was God? Jesus carried God in here, which is unconditional love. Forget about, when people think of God, they think of this man with a beard or some kind of an entity. God is consciousness. The highest form of consciousness it is. So we have to remove the form that we think of God, okay, and bring in the content of God, which is pure awareness. You listen to what the East talk about God, awareness. You look at Muji and the rest talk about awareness. There are other names and symbols out there. But listen, I seriously have to move on because we're going.
Okay.
We've been an hour and a half on this one spot. Right, defenselessness is the next one. Jesus was the master of defenselessness, and that's what the crucifixion was about, because he says in the workbook lesson, in my defenselessness lies my strength.
Wow.
So when you have to defend yourself, you're always saying, I don't trust God. You're always saying, I have to attack you for my own personal safety. Because remember what defenses are, they're attacks. So if you can write a little mantra for yourself and write it beside, stick it in your fridge, in my defenselessness lies my strength. The next one is generosity. Who are the truly generous? The generous are those people who basically bring back their projections. The generous are those people who take responsibility for everything they react to. Because you're giving the miracles to the people that you think are bad, to the people you think are responsible for your pain. The next one is patience. Okay? There's a beautiful line in the Course where Jesus says, only the impatient are unsure of the outcome. So what this means is every time that you are seeking outside yourself, you will become impatient like nothing else. So if maybe you're sitting in the car and you're late for work, all right? And you're sitting in a traffic jam. Just look how impatient you get, because you're not sure that you're going to get to where you are in time. So you become agitated, and now you become to attack anything that's in your way. Maybe there's a driver, and he's driving very slow, and you're running late. This is where road rage comes out of. All right? Now I need to get that out of my way till I get to work. So every time you see somebody with road rage, that person always wants to be somewhere else. So what are we running from?
Fear.
Deny. We run into fear.
Running away from
The now.
The now, the present moment. So who's running away from the present moment?
The ego.
The ego. And because you're unconscious, you're asleep, you believe that it's you that's impatient. That you really have to get somewhere very important. That's all made up. The ego has your day so busy that you're always running from A to B to C to D to E to F. Distraction. Why? Because the ego believes if it keeps you so busy that you'll not come into the now. If you come into the now in the present moment,
The ego disappears.
yeah. So the ego's investment is always to keep you late, always to keep you basically busy, to keep you distracted, always to keep you seeking outside yourself. So, anytime that you feel impatient, the first thought you should have to yourself, where do I need to be? What am I seeking for? And then ask yourself, do I really want this? Do I really want this state of mind of being judgmental, in the world, agitated, irritated, annoyed, and everything? What I'm seeking for, is it worth putting up all that shit for? And maybe you're only going for a bag of crisps. Or maybe you're going for an ice cream. Or maybe you're going for a newspaper. Maybe it's not important, but it doesn't matter. Because we're conditioned always to chase the rabbit. Okay? It's like You know the dog sees a rabbit moving, bang, after it. All right, we see something in the world, bang, we're after it.
And what if it truly is an emergency that you have to get to
Well,
somebody?
you're going to know that. I mean, of course, you know.
Patience.
You still don't get there faster. You just get irritated and late.
Because
And you start driving crazy.
patience collapses time.
Of course it does, because you're in the now.
And therefore, even if it's an emergency, you'll get there faster if you collapse time.
Of course, of course. The next one is faithfulness. Faithfulness. When you put your faith into God, you're being faithful. When you put your faith into the ego, you're being faithless. Why? Because you're putting your faith into nothing. So you're faithless. When you put your faith into God, it's fulfillment. So if you're feeling unfulfilled, it's always because you put your faith into the ego. The ego is a thought system of unfulfillment. God is a thought system of fulfillment, and that is love. So if you're putting your faith into money, all right, what are you putting your faith into? Nothing. Nothing. And what are you going to get? Nothing. So this is why the person who puts their faith into money, they get $1 million. They want 10 million. 10 million, they want 100 million. 100 million, they want 200 million. Why? Because they haven't got any return yet. They might have all the money, they might have the cars, they might have this, blah, blah, blah. But they're waiting for that thing, what everybody has. This inner joy now, this, all my dreams come true. I have the money, and all I needed was the money. Because that's what people told me, all you need is the money and everything will come, all the happiness, the love, everything else comes with it. Bullshit. Okay, so when you put your faith into the ego, and anything that's basically external to you, you're putting your faith into nothing. And the last one then is open-mindedness, which I believe should be the first one. And it's only the open-minded that can wake up. So that's the relationship that you have, that you must prepare yourself for, because that's where you're going next. Okay? What time?
3:30.
Okay. Now, is there anybody here that's telling me that they can't attain that state of mind?
Openness? Which one?
All
All of them?
The 10 characteristics of the advanced
Oh, all
teacher.
10? Gee, I thought we were going to just get to pick one.
Well, if you looked at them, really, there's 4 or 5 said the same thing. About seeking outside yourself.
Is there a time frame on this?
But look at this. It's just, the time frame is this, right?
Be
When
here
you
now.
get sick and tired of being here, you'll do it to here.
We have until the next workshop.
Uh-oh.
I like it
Set
that.
the timer.
I like it.
No
Be
pressure.
here now.
Right. Can you prepare yourself for that? It's a mindset.
Yeah, it's a mindset.
That's all it is. It's just it's just like you say, Rod, getting your head around this now. And you know, that's the thing about the Course. It has turned this world completely upside, and the thought system of this world, because everything has to be reinterpreted. Do you know? But this is very easy and simple for someone to do this.
It's change in attitude, change in mindset, change of interpretation.
So, let's say, this is what I'm going to do. Then you have to be prepared for this. There's someone or something that's going to do everything in its power now to prevent you from going there. You can look at that as bad, or you can look at it as good. It means that when you get here and you stay here, you're going to earn to be there. It ain't going to come cheap, and it ain't going to come easy. Because the more that we go up here, you are becoming more and more and more powerful. Okay? And you have to learn to deal with this power. You have to learn to use this power. Because people who go up here The ego gets a hold of the power here, you're straight back down here again. And you could probably believe you're still here, but now you're teaching from here.
And that's why all the spiritual teachers fall, right?
Of course,
Because the ego sucks them down.
of course, specialness brings them down. So all that is now, if you can get your head around that, if you really want to be at this level, all right, then that's what it takes for you to be at that level. There's tools that you're going to get you in there, all right? Like forgiveness, self-empowerment, and so on. But we'll be doing them in another class. So for the last 20 minutes now, I want to quickly go through the last one. So we have done this one, the relationship with the body, the world, and the split mind. We have done the relationship with the right mind. Now we'll do the higher self. And so, this is a video, okay, and it's a video on the higher self, and it's called the 13 Spiritual Laws of Creation. And when you get to this level, all right, this is how you're going to live in the world. So again, this is a relationship that you have with your higher self, okay, and you have to prepare yourself for this state of mind. Yeah? Because you have to look at this and say, am I capable of that? Can I do that? Because that's what it takes to be on this level. And the first law that you're going to know, there are 13 laws, that's going to keep you at this level. Remember, when you get to here, you're going to go up and down, up and down, up and down. So your task is going to be to stay here. Once you get to here, then your task is going to be here. So you're going to go up and down, but eventually you're going to get to stay here. So these ensure that you stay here. Okay, so the first one is cause and effect. And this law rules everything that's in heaven and earth, and everything that's in between. Which means that everything that has an action must have a reaction. Every cause must have an effect. If it doesn't have an effect, it doesn't have a cause.
And is that the law of karma?
No, it's the law of cause and effect.
Is that the same as karma?
No, it's the cause and effect. Listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Which means this. You are free to choose, but you're not free from the consequences of your choice. Do you understand what that means? Anybody?
I think what you're saying is the only choice you have. It's not what happens to you, it's how you react or choose to think about what happens to you. That's the only freedom you have. Staying above the battleground, so to speak.
You can't be attached to the consequences, for sure. We know that, right?
What this means is this, right? The thoughts that you think create, the choices you make create the thoughts you think. At this level here, at level 1, we're unconscious in our thinking, so we're always choosing the ego. Okay? So here, through forgiveness, and we just went through the characteristics of the advanced teacher of God, we get into the right mind. So now when we get to this stage, everything's a choice, simple choice between God and the ego, between truth and illusion, between love and fear. And you're free now, and you will be free to choose which of these. And the thought system that you choose, you're not free from the effects of that. So if I choose the ego, then I'm going to suffer the consequences of that, which is sin, guilt, fear, anger, irritation, sickness, and death. If I choose God, which is love, eternal life, immortality, peace, joy, bliss, are the effects. So it comes down to this. The choices you make create the thoughts you think. So here's the next 12 choices. The first one is the law of one. Okay? And what the law of one basically states is this, is that we are all one. You are free to believe and to see us all as one, or you can choose to see the differences. You can choose to see people who are not good enough, people who are basically guilty, people who are bad, people who are wrong. And if you do that, you're choosing the ego, and you're going to suffer the consequences. All you have to do here is be willing to basically behold the concept of oneness, that we are all one, and not put an argument up against that. Okay? So the next one is authority. There's one problem that we all share, it's called the authority problem. But the authority problem is not with God. Who's it with?
Ego.
With each other, not with the ego.
Oh.
Our authority problem, you have an authority problem, Brando, with those people who won't pay you. Hey, Roy's got an authority problem with his boss. We'll just say, you know, Diane's got an authority problem with her next door neighbor. You can have an authority problem with anybody. The problem is this, is God, let's say God's sitting up there, and he says, right, yous are all going to be born very shortly, right? And like most families, are going to argue and fight and try to kill each other. Right? So I'm building a little planet Earth for you, and you're going to put yous all there, and when yous all agree that yous are one and can live together, then yous can come back. Up until that point, you stay. Alright, so we have to learn to sort out the authority problem that we have with each other here first. Because people who think they're better, let's say someone who wants to rule the world. You know, someone who's 100 million, they want 200 million because they want to take over the world. That person's playing God. You know, two people in a relationship. One person could be playing God and have an authority problem with the other person. If there are two people in the relationship playing God, then you're going to have sparks flying. Because both are going to want to play God. Both want to be in charge. So they both will annihilate each other. You can't have two gods in the one house. There's only one God. So the sooner you learn that I'm God,
No ego there.
the sooner that you all learn that I'm God, it'll be much happier for you. The sooner that we all learn that we're not God, but there's nothing inside us that's not of God. That's where the authority problem originates. See, God created us in His image, which is spirit, not a body. It's eternal, immortal. And everything that's inside us, all the creative abilities of God, is inside us. So let's move on. The next one is the law of responsibility. And forgiveness wasn't in these laws. Okay? But this is forgiveness, responsibility. You're free to take responsibility for everything in your life. If you don't have your mind set to take responsibility for everything in your life, you're not going to reside here. Because this is the one mind. There's no parts anymore, there's no fragments, and you're sharing this with everybody. So that means you take responsibility for everybody. Full stop, period. You take responsibility for every emotion you have and for every projection you have. That's what it takes to be on this level. So can you prepare your mind for that? If you don't, you choose the ego and down you go. Because you're going to play the victim. The victim lives here. The victimizer lives here. Okay? So when you don't take full responsibility, this is where you end up.
You did say take responsibility for everybody.
Yes.
Got it.
Because it's a one mind shared. Okay? Next one is the law of judgment. And again, you're free to choose. And what this means is when you're here, alright, you're here in the one mind, you're here in the bliss, and all of a sudden you might see something or something in the world and you want it. So what happens is you're going to lose this and you're going to go all the way down in there. All right? But there's another way you can do it. You can seek outside yourself, but definitely not become attached to it. You're not invested in the outcome. If you are here and you seek outside yourself for anything and you're invested in the outcome, you lose there. Simple as that. It means what you're doing in the world is completely and purely unconditional. Then you stay outside of judgment. You stay outside. You're in the world, but you're not of the world. Okay? So that's the next one is the law of focus, which means whatever you focus on, that's what's going to basically encircle, encompass your life. Remember we talked about the subconscious. Okay? So whatever thoughts that you're focusing on. So if you're doing A Course in Miracles and you're focusing on guilt, all you're going to do is expand guilt. Guilt's going to become a big part of your life. Remember we talked about love and the call for love? Now you're focusing on love. Love is now going to become a big part of your life. So whatever you focus on will expand for you. So don't dwell on the negative thoughts that's in your mind because they'll grow. You're giving them nature. You're nurturing them. The next one is the law of love, number 7. And that law is very simple. Love is total, complete, and involves everybody. If you say, I love you to one person, it must include everybody. But if you hate one person, if you have a grievance against one person, and you know you have that, you do not have the right to turn around and say that you love another person to anybody. You don't have that right. Because love has to be total, it has to be complete. You either love everybody or you love nobody. Because that's what this mindset is. It's a mind of one total love. Okay, so you exclude one person out of that, you exclude yourself, and you're back down to the basement.
How do we handle that?
Unconditional. Our love has to be unconditional. No demands, no expectations, no needs, and no desires. But we'll be doing that in another workshop. We'll be doing love. The next one then is the law of giving, and it's the same as love. It must be unconditional. You can only give to yourself. If you give something that's conditional, if I try to give you something and it's conditional, and I'm saying you have to do this with it, or you have to do that with it, or there are conditions with it, right? I'm giving you nothing, I receive nothing. I give you, right, that there, or whatever, totally unconditional. You can throw it away now if you want.
It's mine.
Alright, I don't care, it's not mine. Right? Now, because I have given you that, I receive what I have just given you. So that's how we give to ourselves.
Attachments. No attachments to the giving.
Huh?
Have you
Because there's no investment in the outcome of what I give. You know, you could give someone, say a beautiful ornament. Alright? And then every time you walk into the house, you want to see that ornament. And all of a sudden you walk in one day and the ornament's gone, you go, where's the ornament? What'd you do with it? And then it was broken, you cry or whatever. You haven't given anything. It still belongs to you. Because you want a right where, you want the right to where it sits, where it goes, and that it's looked after, and all these things, all these conditions. So it's like love. I'll love you, provide, you do all these things. Mostly change everything about yourself. Do you know? So we don't really love the person. We only love basically what the other person gives us.
So here's one rule. If you give conditional love, if you give conditionally, what was the rest of that sentence?
You receive nothing.
You receive nothing, that's it.
You could give a piece of dirt unconditionally, but you could give it with love, and you will receive that love in abundance coming back to you. You know, it's like that guy today with the scarf for Sandy. You know, that guy will sit and he will have an experience and he'll feel really good. But the problem is, the ego will come in and they'll rationalize that feeling good. Maybe he'll go out tonight and he might just have his first pint or whatever, and he's sitting back just relaxing on the day and he'll just feel so great. You know, because he's given love and now he's just in that moment of receiving what he's given.
I think he was already feeling good.
Yeah.
Because we walked out of that huge restaurant that had a lot of empty tables that
Yeah.
wouldn't take care of us. Walked to the tiny restaurant, it was jammed the whole time we
Yeah,
were there.
yeah.
So I think that man's doing all right.
Yeah, of course. But that's the effects, you know. So the next one, listen, we'll move on. The next one's the law of reward. So you can see love, giving, and reward are the same. So reward is everything you give unconditionally, the reward is you will receive that many times over. Okay, so if you're feeling in a state of lack at this moment, if you feel that you have nothing, it's always because you have given exactly nothing. What
Everything
you give will be equal to exactly what you receive. So if you give abundance unconditionally, you will receive abundance unconditionally. Your reward will always come back to you provided it's given unconditionally.
So to reverse that, I think I got this from the course, but I've heard the saying, if you lack, let's say love, if you think you lack something, fill in the blank, so let's use love.
It's always,
Go give more love.
Yeah.
So does that balance out the same, is what you're saying?
Of course.
Okay.
You know, if you're not at peace, it's always because you haven't given peace. If you're
Okay,
not in
good.
joy, it's because you have never given joy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not in love, it's because you've never given love. So, you know, it's all to do with the mindset.
Yeah.
The next one is the law of acceptance. What that means, what you resist will persist. And what we're really asking to accept here is what is. Number 11 is the law of creation. Okay? And that means,
I missed number 10, what was number, 9's acceptance?
no, 10
Love
is acceptance.
acceptance is
Reward is 9.
Oh, I missed one, okay.
Yeah, these are all on the website anyway, Brando.
Okay, all right.
You know, you have the law of acceptance 10. Then you have the law acceptance. Basically, is what we're asked to do here. You see, everything external to you. All right. Let's say this is the whole world outside me, right? It's all fragmented, right? And there's good and bad and right and wrong. So when I try to fix a little part of it, when I try to change a little part of it, what am I trying to do?
separate,
It's,
isolate, separate.
Improve.
Yeah, but why only a little part of it?
Well, that's all you can handle at a time.
No, that's the ego, because the ego only wants to focus in on the fragment. Okay, I'll tell you this story. There was two bulls up in a mountain, or up in a big hill, and there was the daddy bull and the son bull. All right, and the son bull, they were looking down at this big herd of cows. And the son bull says, "Daddy, let's run down there and fuck one of those cows." And the daddy bull says, "No, son, let's walk down there and fuck them all." Right? So the ego would be the son bull. All right? That wants to deal with a part. But the daddy bull wants to deal with the whole lot. All right? So that's what this mindset is. It doesn't deal with parts or fragments or individual cows. Okay? It deals with the whole lot. All right? And that's what acceptance is. What you're really doing is you're accepting that we are one. You're accepting that only love is true.
What's
can you
this?
write God and evil up there so that you can see it?
What's this law we're talking about, number 11?
Huh?
Law of what? What's the law?
Creation.
Law of creation.
The law of creation. Okay, and the law of creation, right, states that the only thing that we can create is the only thing that there is, which is
Love.
love. Okay, and everything that you create in this world, if you bring in the ingredient of love to it, now you're bringing in the expression of God into that creation. If you're trying to create something without love, then you're creating an ego. Number 12 is the law of karma. As you sow, so shall you reap. Regina? No one can punish you but yourself. If you take justice and you believe that you have to be the hand of justice, then that is the ego. Okay? You don't need to punish another for punishing you or hurting you. Why? It's because that person has already punished themselves and will punish themselves. But we, as egos, take the law into our own hands and we want to see vengeance and we want to see justice. Okay? At this level, justice is handled by the law of karma. Okay? It means you don't have to take any action against anybody. Especially if you react, because you're coming from your ego. And the last one then is the law of time. Okay? And the law of time clearly states that there's nothing external to you. But when you step outside yourself, when you leave your center, you enter into time. And now when you're in time, you're in past, present, and future, except there's no present. Okay? Because the ego brings the past into the present, brings the future into the present. So while you are here, you will not be in past or future. You will not be in time. You will be in the now. But if you want to look into your past, if you want to go into a grievance in your past or something special in your past, you lose here. You're back down here. Because here's past and future. So these are the relationships that we have with each individual level that we are ourselves. There's 5 levels, and we are a presence on every level. You're not aware of your relationship with God. You're not aware of your relationship with Christ. You might not be aware of the relationship with your higher self or with your right mind. But if you're here, you must become aware of the 3 relationships at this level, because you have to detach from them. As long as you're attached to these, you're not going to get to here, here, here. So that's all it takes. Sever the attachments to the lower levels, and you'll automatically just fly up. You'll rise up. You don't have to do anything else. So is there any questions? Happy?
Boy, covered a lot today.
We're halfway done on the Course in Miracles. So you can see, anybody has the book, it's a big book. But we have covered a lot of stuff in those 3 classes. So basically, we've covered, I think, to probably the heaviest of it at this stage. So
it's much easier for somebody who's already been studying this stuff.
I would, because again, like when you talked there about the language is different from what you see.
Yeah.
So, because he's reinterpreting everything, so that's where someone will get a head start, but probably you'll have a more knowledge than that person coming from your different philosophies and so on.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the term epigenetics?
Okay?
Epigenetics.
No.
It's the science of how the experiences of the ancestors are in your DNA.
Okay.
So, which means the thought forms that your ancestors had are in your genes.
Okay.
So if your ancestors were subjected to severe trauma, then in your genes, that trauma is still alive, and so is the fear about that.
Yeah.
So, which is my case. That's my situation. I really feel.
That's okay. You need to reinterpret that, Regina.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you need to let go of these old beliefs. The thoughts that were in your ancestors are the same thoughts that's in you now.
Yeah.
They're coming from the ego thought system.
But I feel it's in my DNA.
No, it's in your mind.
Well,
It's as simple as that. It's not in your DNA. It's in your mind.
Wherever it is, it's happening.
Yeah, but if it's in your mind, you can do something about it. If it's in your DNA, you're saying you can't do anything about it. And that's what you're really
That's how I
saying.
feel.
No,
like I
no, no,
can't
no,
do
wait,
anything
wait,
about
wait,
it.
wait, wait.
Yes, who could
No,
do something about
wait,
it?
wait a second, right? Because in one compartment, you're just saying, I'm a victim, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm saying to you, you're not a victim, you can do something about it, and here's where the truth is. You have a choice now. You can go home and go, screw him, I know where it is. Right? Or you can look at this a different way. Okay, so the choice is yours, Regina, at the end of the day. Don't play the victim role because you will suffer. And that's what you've been doing so far. Okay?
I'm not.
You can, right, we'll just finish up there now, folks. All right, thank you all very much.